But when you think about skill guys who can be productive in a Kendal Briles offense, and you've got this new running backs coach in Stan Drayton, who is set to be hired tomorrow officially at South Carolina, and you think about current personnel, aside from who could they go get, you think about the fact that Juwan Howell is back. He's a guy who seems to kind of maybe fit this a little bit. We've seen that. Matt Fuller's a guy who, I don't know. Matt Fuller's kind of a downhill bull rush type. I'm not saying that he doesn't. Let me be careful about how I say that, Rob, because that's not fair to Matt Fuller. Matt Fuller is quick. We saw him take one to the house against LSU. But what type of system he signed up for here at South Carolina versus where it's going, and you just kind of look at traditionally what he has been designed to do. You wonder about a guy like that. I don't have any intel that says he would be going anywhere, but and I think he'd be very good in this thing. But we'll just have to see. A guy like Isaiah Augustov. Well, that's a really interesting player, isn't it? I mean,
Absolutely.
think about what he was playing in at Colorado. Think about that for a second. And an offense that was really wide open and threw the football a ton with Shedeur Sanders. They couldn't block anybody. I mean, he was sacked like 50 times that year. But it was a tempo offense, and he seemed to do pretty well out there. And he only got 2 carries this year, right? So you think about the current personnel that's coming back, and you start to kind of, in a way, think through this very prematurely. But what type of guys that are here on campus are going to be dudes that are really, really excited about this new system, and vice versa. When Kendal and Stan and Coach Clements and those guys get on campus and they look around and they see their personnel, what do they think about these guys? It's there's a lot to kind of chew on there.
Yeah, a couple things there. On Augustov, he got 35 carries at Arkansas as a freshman in 2023 as well. So that's another kind of point of reference from a different, when you're looking at the offenses that he's been in, it's another kind of way to frame it. But if you go back to how you started that conversation with Faison, my initial thought is, well, yeah, he's out of eligibility, but who in the room has the most similar skill set to him? And I think it is Juwan Howell. And so when you talk about fit, that's where my head goes immediately to what's left in this room. You got 3 backs, like you just said, and I do think that 22 is the best fit. But that doesn't mean that it's not a wide open search, in my opinion, either. And Shane Beamer has said it a million times that competition is a foundational piece of this program, and so I would look for them to make some moves at the running back position as well. And don't be surprised if it goes either way, to be honest with you. In my opinion right now, are we getting depth pieces that are going to bring competition to the room, or is there going to be an opportunity to go out and get somebody who's going to come in and be the expected starter in that situation? And we don't know if all 3 of these guys are going to stick around either. So there may be a situation where you need to go get 3 or 4 running backs in the transfer portal just to have enough bodies, because we saw a few years ago how quickly that can go downhill in terms of injuries if you don't have 4 or 5 backs in that room. So it's a really interesting movement here. I think offensive line, although it's more important at this point, is a little more clear cut because there's a little more of a clear initiative. We just don't really know how things are going to shake out in this running back room, but we're going to find out after Stan Drayton gets there, because then we'll figure out who wants to stick around and who's going to bounce.
I mentioned slide the offensive line into another coffer. I've got it just picked up a little bit of intel. I'll just read it here. Obviously, as we pointed out, I think everybody knows this. Clements assisted with the offensive line this season, but has a good history with the Briles family and developing offensive linemen. He was brought into TCU to help out, but the thinking ultimately was that he wasn't going to be there long because he is a talented coach. That's from I would say a pretty good source on this. So, what does all that mean? I think Carolina fans, and rightfully so, a lot of them will show me first. I'll believe it when I see it. Very, very fair. Very, very fair. And you know what? I'm in your camp because we have unfortunately over the last few years at times been, kind of led down a different road, and then you see it and you're like, yeah, that's not what I was told. But so with the offensive line, John Strickland will be here a little bit later on this week. And I can't wait to ask this question. I already jotted it down last night. When you change a system this much, Rob, and you're a football guy, I mean, you know football, so add what you can here. When you change a system this much and you bring in what will end up being in less than, by the time they start, winter workouts, in less than like three months, your third offensive line coach, because you let go of Coach Teasley, who looks like, by the way, is headed in Nebraska. And then you had Coach Elliott in there. And now you got another guy in Randy Clements. How difficult is it? Or maybe to ask it differently, what is the process to get that group to perform their best the quickest, cohesively, right? Cohesively.
Yeah.
Is it, hey, I know we've signed some talented guys around here, but for lack of a better verbiage, the damage is done. So let's recruit over these guys, which are probably going to be doing anyways at certain positions, but let's recruit over these guys and just go get a new fresh crop who's going to be able to come in, and my voice will be the only voice they've heard in this program. Or is it, well, it is a talented group. I mean, South Carolina beat out some of the best teams in the country. For many of these guys, I can get these guys where we need to get them by Labor Day. I don't know the answer, but it is something to chew on when you're flipping over your system that much, and you've had as much struggle on that side of the ball at that position group as they've had.
I think the variable that's difficult for us to nail down this conversation, because we can't grasp this variable because we're not in the meeting rooms and we're not in practices, is what type of young men, what's really inside of these guys. Because when you ask the question of how do you get them going and what does it take to go through 3 different coaches, and then what's it going to look like for Coach Clements to come in and get this group galvanized and ready to play, I think all of that is inside. We can sit here and look at play on the field and physical attributes and explosiveness and sometimes mental lapses and inability to execute the system, and that's all from looking at tape. And then we have these like bits of conversations where you can ask a player about another player, or maybe you get especially with an offensive lineman, you're not getting many opportunities to talk to them from a media standpoint. And you just kind of have to trust the culture of the program and the type of people that Shane Beamer and this staff are going after, and how does the type of person that they are weigh against their physical ability and their ability to play on the field. Like, I think that everything about, can I be resilient enough to go through 3 coaches, tighten my bootstraps, get ready to go, still have confidence and belief that I can go out here and compete and execute at the highest level in this place with these guys, whatever adversity that I'm facing, whatever I have to walk through, can I hold my head up and go out there and execute at a high level? That's all inside of a man. And when we look at these guys, we can't call that. We don't know what that is. And so it makes it difficult, I think, because we are trying to put the puzzle together with a handful of pieces that we're never going to really have until we talk to until it's like, you're talking to Strick 20 years later, right? And then you can know who they are. Or if you're in school at the University of South Carolina right now and you're hanging out with these guys, you have class with them, then you probably know them a little better than what we do sitting here today.